Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. As you know that we are now starting a series on operating systems, and the previous video was about the introduction to operating system, and the second one will be the different types of operating systems that we have. One thing I need to tell that these are not the commercial operating systems. These are the types of operating system which actually describes the internal working of the operating system, right? So on the basis of working, we have divided operating systems into several types. So the one which we are going to study today is the batch operating system. So without wasting time, let us start. Before understanding the working of batch operating system, what we need to know is the little history about the how batch operating system came into being. So in older times, the computers used punch card system for inputting data, right? So what were punch cards? They were also known as IBM cards. They were paper cards where holes are made to represent computer data and instructions, right? So there was a coding, right? So what it has actually done, it has a paper, it has certain holes, then light is passed through those papers, right? And based on the coding, the sequence, you can see over here that this has certain way of holes over here, this has some more holes, right? So based on this particular coding mechanism, we understand the digital information, right? We understand the program instruction, right? So what happened, they were widely used as a means of inputting data in early computer. So these were the cards which actually represents the instruction. Then in order to understand these instruction, what we have with us are card readers, which are actually connected to the computer. The work of card reader was to convert this sequence of holes into digital information, right? So we need those card readers to understand this particular instructions, right? So this was the way of giving programs or giving instruction to your computer, right? So this was a very cumbersome or time consuming task. So this particular issue, that it is time consuming, led to the development of batch operating systems. So let us see. Today, we call our sequence of instructions as a program, but at that point of time, when the programs were actually a combination of the program itself, the IO data means which input and output devices you will be requiring to process that particular program, and the control instructions, right? That when is to execute, when is to use the IO devices, and so on. And this particular combination at that time was known as a job. So what we didn't have a simple program, we have a job, which is a combination of program, IO data, and control instruction, right? And earlier the computers were the mainframe systems, and they use punch cards as as the input devices, right? So you can see in this image that there are certain people who are working on the computer. These were the computers at that point of time, and you can see over here that there are lot of punch cards kept over here, right? So this was very time consuming, as you can understand by now. The users need to input these cards into the machine so that the processor can process them. Speed of writing the jobs is also very more, means it is time consuming, and the uses were limited. So today we use computer for every single task, right? Every single small task also, but at that point of time there were only specific jobs that are done through your computers. So the issue of the time consumption made to the development of batch operating system. Now, as the name suggests, batch operating system, batch means a group of something, right? Or a group of similar things is known as a batch. So there are certain users with us, right, with their jobs, right? Now these jobs are given to the operator. The operator divides these jobs into different batches, and then these batches are fed to the computer, right? Now there is a criteria using which these jobs are actually bundled into the batches, right? So there can be a job, let's say a job for calculation, let's say a job for IO, that is, let's say a printing of certain papers, right? So there can be IO jobs which require only some activation of some output device, and there can be a job which require calculation. Let's say addition of two numbers, or calculating percentage, or calculating simple interest, right? There can be these many jobs. So what this operator does, this operators divide the jobs into batches based on their nature. So let's say we have batch 1 that is meant for calculation. So all the jobs which are calculation jobs are grouped in batch 1. Then all the jobs which are, let's say, of printing papers are grouped into batch number 2. So that is how these jobs are divided into batches, and then ultimately these batches are fed to the computer. So that was the essence of batch operating system, the basic definition of batch operating system. Right. So what happened in batch operating system? Previously, this division of jobs into batches was done by operator. Right? An operator was nothing but a physical person who know how to operate punch card into the computer. Right? But later on in batch operating system, the task of bunching these jobs, right? So we have different jobs with us, and then these jobs have to be converted into batches. So that task was given to the operating system rather than physical people doing this particular thing. So we divide similar kind of jobs into batches, and then it is given to the computer to process. So the task of dividing and giving the jobs to the CPU was performed by operating systems in batch operating system, right? So that is the essence of batch operating system. So with this we are coming to the advantages and disadvantages. I hope that the meaning of batch operating system is pretty much clear to you, and now we will be understanding the advantages and disadvantages. As per the definition, talking about the first advantage, it moves much of the work of the operator to the computer, right? So previously there were physical operators who do this task, now the operating system is doing, right? So it has been automated, which is increasing the performance, right? And then it also increases the throughput. Throughput is how many jobs a computer actually processes in a unit time, right? So because before, what was that? Suppose one job is for calculation, then another job is for IO, then another job is for calculation, then another is for IO. So what the previous computer has to do, from calculation it is shifting to input output, from input output it is again switching to calculation, again switching to IO. So this switching movement required some time for to the computer to actually understand that okay, now ALU will be working, okay, now the IO devices should be working. So this switching takes time, right? But because we have now divided the jobs into batches, so first batch 1 is to be executed, which is solely dedicated to calculation, right? So no switching will be required, only the ALU will be activated. Then the second batch will be, let's say, for the IO, right? So only the printer will be activated at that point of time. We do not require the working of the ALU, right? So the switching gets reduced, thus increasing the throughput of the system. So that is also another advantage. Now coming to the disadvantages, of course it is time consuming. So maybe the turnaround time may increase. So let's say the batch 1 have 10 jobs in it, and I have batch 2 which have only, let's say, 2 jobs in it, right? So this will take time to execute because there are more jobs in it, and then the jobs in batch 2 have to wait for a long time, right? So the response time for the batches may increase. So that is that the turnaround time can be large. And then next two disadvantages are related to error, because now let's say there is an error in batch 1, right? So you do not know which job is actually possessing that error. So you have to go through the complete batch, right? So that is debugging the programs can also become difficult, and again the job can enter into infinite loop, which can also prevent the jobs to execute. So these were some advantages and disadvantages of batch operating system. Now coming to the last section, because we are actually studying these particular topic into as a brief discussion, because mostly in examination you have to write a short note over it. So I think these particular explanations will be more than enough. So some examples of batch operating system may be the payrolls for the company, and some electricity bills and water and gas bills were also processed using batch operating systems in the earlier computing times, right? So I hope that you understand this particular video about one type of operating system, and for more such videos on operating systems, stay tuned to my lecture. Thank you.